Clear now? We're good? Awesome. Thank you guys for your patience. 15 minutes in, we got it right. All right. So, yeah, I was saying that you can find us at Freedom Phalanx Radio Network Sunday morning, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, and man, that camera, and all that stuff. And, oh, yeah, some updates with the network. If you've been paying attention to what we've been building since November, thank you. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to the cause over the past 6 months and been following my work and now the work of a 9-person team. Thank you to my team, including Zach Odoms, who's in the room tonight, is producing the show, and to everyone else who helps out with the graphics, Brandon included, and others. And I'm going to bring this out of the way. Other people who have helped with the production of this show, and for you guys for sharing, for donating, all that good stuff. We're trying to build something here, and I appreciate it. So this past week, caught up with Adam Kokesh on Wednesday night. He was here in Houston. He's making his way across the country as he moves towards LA, beginning his new life of probation after his shotgun incident. So it was good to catch up with Adam. As some of you know, I hosted Adam's show, Adam vs. the Man, version 3.0. Back in August and September, and that was a good experience. It allowed me to grow, I think, as just learning some of the technical aspects of running a show and as an activist and dealing with all the silliness around people stealing from Adam. It was also a learning lesson. So, yeah, it was good to catch up with him. And, yeah, that was most of my week. Had a Houston Freethinker meeting here in the city. For those of you who aren't a part of a group or aren't a part of a group even online, please get involved with somebody, whether you're ready to get involved in the real world or not. It's a time for action. It's a time to do something. It's a time to get involved with others, and if that means passing out flyers or making memes or doing things like that, then please do those very important things. But also, if you can, if you're ready, get out there on the streets, communicate with your brothers and sisters, spread these ideas because they are necessary and we need to grow them. So yeah, I had a Houston Freethinkers meeting. We do this the first Thursday of every month. It's always a great time for people to come over to our house, plug into what we're doing, come up with a bunch of actions, and every month pretty much includes community barbecue, info jam where we go out to the streets and pass out flyers. We hold documentary screenings. We go to the garden, do some type of street action or protest, and also we're building various projects, including the Houston Exchange Network, which I've talked about before and will again once it gets up and running. And also other projects like 3D printing, community recycling, and lots of exciting stuff that's happening. So thank you to everyone who attended that and who is helping us grow activism and community in Houston. And speaking of the garden, I was there this morning picking lots of fresh greens. I'm going to grab some when we cut a break so I can come back and show you guys how much I picked. I picked lots of carrots too. Carrots, fresh carrots. You don't know what it's like to have carrots until you've ate them right out of the ground. You picked them with your own hand because you planted them with your own fingers and grew them, and Monsanto had nothing to do with it, and there's no chemicals on it. It's an awesome feeling. So in Houston, we're just now starting to really warm up and get our gardening season going back, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, lots of stuff happening, and as I said, lots of things happening at the Conscious Resistance Network. We're really building as a team, 9-person team now. Please support our work, support the different articles, share them out. If you can contribute financially or just with shares, we do appreciate that. We want to grow this to compete as an agris venture, competing with the formerly known as mainstream, the old stream media, and building something new that can be powerful, it can be positive, it can be aware. We're working on launching cooking shows and yoga eventually and a music show and all kinds of different things, whatever ideas you have. And again, of course, this network is completely user involved. It's an interactive experience. You can help decide what music we play. We play 4 music videos each show at 8:30, 9, 9:30, and 10. And afterwards, you can go vote for those at our website on the Music Spotlight page and decide who we play next week. And you can send in videos as well. All right, so let's get into some news. Lots of things to cover, and I'm going to be talking with JG Vibes in 10, 15 minutes or so. John Good Vibes is a partner in the network and also a good friend of mine. We're working on a book together called The Conscious Resistance, Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality. And tonight we're going to talk a bit about indigenous resistance. I'm going to get into that in a minute, and then we'll also talk with him about just how different Native American cultures currently existing today are still resisting and how others maybe sort of are giving in and becoming part of the state. So we'll get into that soon. But February 11th, this coming Tuesday, is a national day of mass action against surveillance. This is 1 year and 1 month after the death of activist Aaron Swartz, who is a co-founder of Reddit and was, killed himself after being investigated, and the Justice Department coming after him. And so in honor of that, of his death and his work, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Reddit, Mozilla, the ACLU, and a number of other organizations are going to be blacking out their websites, similar to what we saw with the SOPA protests a couple years ago. They'll be doing that this Tuesday all day, and activists around the nation will be hitting the streets and talking to people. And if you're in Houston, we're going to be going to the corner of Westheimer and Montrose sometime between noon and 6, maybe all day, with signs, with flyers, and just having conversations with people. Also, we want to hit up downtown, because downtown in Houston, we've had over, I think, about 480 cameras now installed in every inch of downtown. It's operated by a 24-hour HPD station, underground manned station, and these were given to the city of Houston from federal funding through our friends, the Department of Homeland Security. So we'll be out there pointing at those and asking people, hey, did you know these cameras are watching you and listening to you all the time? Does that bother you? And then kind of relate that to some national programs like we have found out because of Edward Snowden. So that's Tuesday. Go out and do something. And before we get into the heavier stuff, something positive. New Hampshire, just yesterday, I believe, they have a victory against the National Defense Authorization Act, which, as you guys know, in 2011 was signed by President Obama and allows for the indefinite detention of American citizens. This state bill, basically, prohibits that action, and this is just another in a long line of states resisting, because that's the great thing. As much as people say that, oh, there's a bunch of sheeple, or the majority of people are asleep or unaware, there has been tons of state resistance to the National Defense Authorization Act, to gun legislation, to farm bills like raw milk and silly crap like that. So there still is hope. It mainly lies in the states and the localities, but there still is hope, and where there is life, there is hope. And before we bring on John Vibes, let's set the stage with some indigenous resistance stories, because this is good news. I wrote about one of these stories earlier in the week for the Liberty Beat, and I'm also currently working on another story that I've been working on for quite a while, because as you'll find with some of these things, when you start digging, you find a lot of crazy crap. Like when I wrote the article a while back called The Crimes of HSBC, the bank, I didn't really know much about the bank. I just started to look into them and saw that they had been involved with funding projects that were assaulting indigenous communities. And the more I looked into them, the more I found, and eventually I was like, wow, this needs to be something much longer than what I thought. And the same thing goes for a company called Goldcorp, which is based out of Canada and is currently destroying Honduran and Guatemalan homelands and resources and the people down there. And that's what I'm focusing on for a new article. But one that I wrote just briefly on this week has to do with the Munduruku people of Brazil. And this has been an ongoing saga for quite some time. Last year they released a statement openly declaring that they were willing to die, for in defense of their land if they needed to, if the government wouldn't back off. So recently, the Munduruku have seized the equipment of miners who were trying to mine in their homelands, and the chief of the tribe said that the miners have polluted the river, hurt the fish population, and threatened their people. In response, he said that the Munduruku are expelling them and taking their machines. The chief stated that after a month's pass, they will decide what to do with them, whether they're going to use them to build projects that would benefit the communities, and where they're going to use them at. Now, on Friday, January 31st, the Munduruku released a letter stating, quote, "This is the first step. We are going to defend our territory, our river, our forest, our riches, and our people until the end. That is our word." Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. That made me feel good and warm and fuzzy whenever I found that and was able to write about it. Those are the kind of stories I love. And that's not a call to violence or anything like that. But it's really just self-defense. I mean, that's really all there is to it. These people are having to defend their homeland, and this is what we're trying to get at here, and what we're going to talk about with John is that the indigenous struggles have never gone anywhere. They've kind of been pushed away onto reservations and, put out of your main vision, and they're not on the television and things like that, but there's still tons of these things happening, and that's why I continue to write about them and to call attention to them. And now here we go in America. This was pretty cool. This is actually some modern American, Native American movement resistance to projects that are ongoing. There has been tons of resistance for various reasons to the Keystone XL pipeline. This includes activists and citizens who are typically of the left of the political spectrum, who care about the environmental issues and the possible possible hazards from that, and others who are just worried about Keystone's their track record for spills. And there's others who are worried about private property rights that have had their land taken because of this project. Now, all these different people have also come together to fight for indigenous lands, because the Keystone XL pipeline starts in Canada in the tar sands in Alberta. So they're destroying land, taking land from the indigenous people there, also polluting it and poisoning them, and literally attacking them, pepper spraying them. There's been like open resistance for months going on that the media is barely covering at all. And then all through the United States, they're taking people's land to do that. And here in Houston and Manchester in southeast Houston, not too far from here where all the refineries are, there's one of the highest rates of cancers in the country, and this is where all this is. So there's tons of reasons to be wary of a project like this. And they say, oh, this is capitalism at its finest, and there's some people who just don't really understand what they're talking about, because the jobs, I did a video on this a while back. If you want to go see me sitting in a park doing a video on this, a very old school video on my channel, you can watch it. It's okay, you can laugh at me. But I bring up some valid points of why, whether you're an anarchist or a proprietarian or a left environmentalist, you should care about this project, because also they say it's going to produce a number of jobs. Those jobs have already been outsourced. Most of the oil that's going to be coming through there has already been sold to China and to India as well. So I mean, it's going to produce a bunch of jobs very temporarily. Once the pipeline's built, there's no reason for them to be there anymore. You know what I mean? Those aren't long-term jobs in any way. So lots of reasons to protest it. And last Monday, there was around the country, there was national vigils held in protest of the most recent State Department assessment of the project, where they basically approved the whole project and said that that there was no environmental concerns, basically. So now it's up to Obama to make a decision. Basically by the summer is when he's expected to make it. So people are going into okay, it's high gear. It's time to really show President Obama. Let's see if he actually gives a damn at all. And I want I don't know, man. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and that the more whoever they being, in this case President Obama, and whoever's paying him for this, the more they do the things that they're meant to do, which is to create crime and to be tyrannical and to destroy, basically to try to pollute and to corrupt everything that is good about nature and about God and about the universe, right? They're trying to corrupt it and make it their own. But they're only playing the role that they're meant to do, because without them doing this, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it and trying to find a solution for it. So I want nothing but, positive things for this planet. But at the same time, if this is what it takes, if they're going to do this action, this is what it takes for a big number of people to also to be like, wow, that woke me up to how Obama is. If you haven't gotten it yet, maybe if he builds the Keystone Pipeline and lies about that too and turns his back on that crowd of people, maybe then they'll get it. But so in response to the State Department's final supplemental environmental impact statement, which sparked those 300 protests I told you about last week, a group of Native American communities have added their voices to calls to reject the Keystone XL pipeline. In a joint statement called "No Keystone XL Pipeline Will Cross Lakota Lands," Honor the Earth, the Oglala Sioux Nation, Auaku, and Protect the Sacred announced their intention to peacefully resist the construction of the pipeline slated to cut through Montana, South Dakota, and Nebraska. So they're talking about the northern leg of the pipeline. The southern leg, which affects us, those down here in Houston, the south, has already been approved because they can do it without anybody voting on it. The only reason they need approval for the other one is because it crosses international borders. And this is from the letter. We stand with the Lakota Nation. We stand on the side of protecting sacred water. We stand for indigenous land-based lifeways which will not be corrupted by a hazardous toxic pipeline. We all need to stand with them. Damn, and I love the Lakota, dude. If you know anything about Native American history, if you want to learn more, read a book that I'm still reading through that was passed to me called Black Elk Speaks. And he talks all about the last remnants of the Native Americans, specifically the Oglala Sioux, and just what they dealt with, and how the Wasichus, the outsiders, came and crisscrossed their land with a spider web and changed everything. And it's really sad, but it's an important piece of history to be educated about. So yeah, these groups are continuing the fight, and this is not the first time. Back in March 2012, Native groups at the Pine Ridge Reservation held a blockade to stop trucks from transporting parts to the pipeline. And also in 2013 of August, there was some similar action. The pipeline has been dubbed the Black Snake by many tribal groups, and this is the plan to stop the Black Snake. So, thank you to my brothers and sisters of both the Mandruku in Brazil and all the Native American communities standing together, and really everybody who is standing together against this, because it's really important to do. I think, as I said, no matter what your particular opinion is on that or where you stand, it's something you should be aware of and should stand against. All right, I think we are going to have Jon Good Vibes in just a few moments on the show, but we're going to go to our first music video before we do that, and then we'll get back with Jon Good Vibes, and we're going to talk about, he's got some interesting topics having to do with another area of Native Americans here in the United States and some of their policies, and we'll talk a little bit with him about what he thinks about this latest indigenous resistance. So stay tuned. We're going to go to Jay Soley now. This is a good friend of mine as well, originally from Texas. And yeah, check this out. Jay Soley, We the People. We'll be right back.
America, where all men are created equal, in a land of the people, by the people, and for the people.
That's kinda deceitful, cause Bush's economics were the fall of the eagle. A lobbyist is calling, so we're bombing your people. Saddam and Osama bin Laden are the bottom of the bottom, and I ain't stopping till I got them where we need to. So we applaud Obama when he promised that the problems will be gone by tomorrow, but the problems are equal. But at the top of all of this is neither of these two. Lincoln said in politics the highest offices are not the ones making laws, it's the ones making profits. Wall Street monsters, Bilderberg evil. Bush and Obama are the people they speak through. We're just caught up in following, walking into our own slaughter. American sheeple, better wake up or the wolves will eat you. Stalin, Mussolini, Nazi sequel. FEMA death camps where the police will beat you. It's for protection, nothing less than peaceful. And a one world government is best for the people, with a one world currency injected through a needle. And there's no sense running cause the government can see you. I don't believe you, your propaganda see-through. Punishment is coming, got me running to a sea pool. See-through to the top. Bush was high when he signed the Patriot Act. He took the Constitution, there's no taking it back. Tried to scare us with the Arabics, they're crazy, they're back. Turn up the threat color on the terrorist alert flag. Once they're all scared, they can't say that it's bad when I take away their rights and sign the Patriot Act. Shh. Attention sheeple, for your safety you're tapped. You had the right to privacy, we're taking it back. So you can get locked up just for taking a crap. And if you got Glocks, they can be majorly taxed. Then Obama said that's dangerous, I'm changing it back. The only change that he's had is that he's changing his facts. It's like the nation is trapped, we need to take the shit back. It's like we're breaking our back, they keep taking our cash. Yeah, and it's just making them laugh. Banks fail, so we bail them out, saving their ass as they lay back lazy and fat, attacking Iraq. Back in Afghanistan, what happened to that? This ain't capture the flag, they're getting captured and stabbed. What changes Barack if Bernanke is back? He acts sad after the fact, cause he's mastered the craft of masking the fact that he's having a chat with a G8. New world order, better make it sell. Take the oil spill and make legislative hell. The only way to stop it is to educate yourselves.
Welcome to Conscious Resistance Live. My name is Derrick Bros. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. That was from Lifting the Veil. Agitators of the Agora. A little more. Agitators of the Agora, I was the debut episode of that. It's basically a new series they're starting, taking a look at today's prominent anarchist thinkers. They included me in that category. Isn't that kind of cool? And I talked about the connections, my little basic thesis, which is going to be what we explore in the book, Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality, which touches on Buddhism, shamanism. I've heard a lot of people talk about the Tao, and how that relates to anarchy as well, and even Quakers and Epicurean philosophy. So I've got a lot of information once we start exploring that. So it's really cool. I'm happy to do this project. Looking forward to it. And that video right there was basically a remix of a speech I gave in New York City last year. Okay, well, we're going to get ready to talk to Jon Good Vibes here, and we're trying something new out today, so please give us a moment while you do that. Make sure to go to the 3D mix. We're going to have Jon Good Vibes on here to talk about a story he sent me earlier in the week. Go ahead, yeah, that I didn't get to really look into. Also, thank you to everybody who's tuned in. If you don't know, guys, you can listen to us through the TuneIn app if you search the Rundown Live, our partners
Hello?
on there. What's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
It's pretty good, man. I can hear you. Everybody, if you guys can hear him in the chat, please let us know. Thank you guys who are tuned in. Let us know that you can hear him. And we got, the video looks good. Image looks good. Cool. How you doing, man?
Awesome.
So I want to go ahead and let's talk about, we got only a few minutes on this segment here with you, but I wanted to talk about the story you sent me earlier in the week. Can you go ahead and break that down for us?
Yeah, basically, it looks like whoever the leaders are in various Native American tribes in Washington, specifically, I believe the name of them was the Yakama tribe. They are trying to prevent marijuana from being legalized on their reservations. And I thought that was just extremely crazy and ironic, considering that traditionally we know that many Native American tribes used that plant and many other plants, for religious purposes, and also, for medicinal purposes. So it seems that the tribe leaders are using the same kind of drugs are bad rhetoric that you see from mainstream American politicians. So I've seen a lot of stories like this recently where it seems that these officials are obviously corrupt, and their loyalties is not to the people that they're representing, which shouldn't surprise us because this is just another microcosm of government.
Yeah. So did they give a reason to why they didn't want marijuana in their land?
Because they think that it'll be bad for their community, because alcohol was bad for their community, which especially people from a Native American background should understand the difference between the two, and that they're not even really comparable when you're talking about their impact.
One thing I do want to add, man, is that from my experience, and even just this past year getting to go visit Chief Gray Eagle in Oklahoma, and I've shared that experience with you, and getting to be a part of I guess what you could call a traditional Native American ceremony, where it's somebody who is in their 50s and has in some ways lost connection with their Native American past, but is trying to bring it back and reconnect with those roots. And in that, there are even some people who would probably eat food that us as activists would be like, whoa, why are you doing that? Why would you support these corporations, or why would you support this and that? And I've been at different indigenous ceremonies where it was like they were sitting there eating Frito-Lays and stuff like that, and me and other people, and even a woman who had come up from I believe Peru, who came up there to talk to them about just bringing people together to fight, to help resist indigenous struggles around the world. She sat there and through a translator called everybody out, like, why are you eating their food and their Doritos and this and that? That's their poison, and you're empowering them. And so my point is that even though someone is I guess in the Native American culture or not, I don't think that necessarily excludes them from being bought over by propaganda such as marijuana is more dangerous than alcohol and stuff like that. Unfortunately, a lot of them have, and we find this in all cultures today, that a lot of people have absorbed this mainstream created culture and have lost touch with their own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially with these leaders of these tribes, there is definitely a lot of financial and political interests. I'm sure that they get a lot of favors from the politicians that they're connected to. And I'm sure that they have complete and total responsibility and control of all of the funds that come into these reservations. And they're basically like, from what I understand, like on the subsistence of the government in many cases. So that it makes these positions extremely susceptible for corruption.
Yeah, you're right. There definitely is a large portion of the Native American community that has, because of the work of the United States federal government, that basically destroyed their whole culture and then got them all dependent on it. In a lot of ways, turned them alcoholics or just got them dependent on, the welfare state through the reservations and such like that. So there's a lot of negativity on those reservations and in the culture as well. So it's unfortunate, but I'm glad to see that there are some movements of indigenous struggles around the world that actually are resisting. And I wanted to get your opinion and talk to you a little bit about this for the next few minutes, man. Did you see the story about Native American resistance to the Keystone XL pipeline just this past week?
Refresh my memory of which specific part you're talking about.
Well, basically, several different Native American organizations, including the Oglala Sioux, released a joint statement stating that they're now calling on all tribes to peacefully resist and start, blocking the pipeline, because it's crunch time now, where, the State Department has just released the report basically saying there's no environmental hazards, and by the summertime, Obama should have made his decision whether or not they're going to allow the northern leg of the Keystone XL pipeline to cross into the Canadian border into indigenous lands in Alberta, Canada, and across the United States. So now that they realize this is sort of like, do or die time, they're calling on others in the country to resist.
I think that it's definitely necessary because it is getting down to that time, and it's already been destroying area. I mean, even the fact that they're digging it up and using eminent domain to throw people off their property, the pipelines are rupturing all over the place, and it's obviously going to be a complete disaster. So I think that I'm really not surprised that this is coming together in this way, and I'm not really sure how this is going to play out, because it's going to be really difficult for the media to handle, I believe. And how are we going to be seeing, police tear gas and Native Americans on the news and stuff like that, or on YouTube? Probably not on the news, but maybe on YouTube. So that is going to create a interesting kind of dynamic in the discussion about this.
Yeah, definitely, man. You're right about that. Now, I want to tell you one more example of resistance, and then ask you a question about this. So this has to do with Munduruku people in Brazil. And I believe we've talked about this before, because this has been an ongoing struggle for years and years now. But last year they made headlines for releasing a statement saying that they would be that they were going to put their lives on the line, that they were willing to fight to the death to stop these mines that were coming through their lands. There's tons of hydroelectric dams and gold mines in Brazil and South America where and they have to constantly fight off these corporations. And the corporations, of course, are working with the state, with the police, and things like that. So it's a similar situation as what we're seeing here in America with the Keystone XL pipeline, but over there the indigenous have almost less rights as far as the state is concerned. They sort of push them off. They're basically the same way that they're treating Native Americans over here, but in some cases much worse. So the Munduruku released a statement earlier in the week saying that this is our land, we will protect our land, we will protect our rivers, we will protect our forests, and we'll do this to our death. This is our word.
Um, wow, man. I did not know I knew that they were apparently taking over equipment and stuff like that, but I didn't hear about that statement. And I, um, again, I'm not surprised that it's getting to that point there. And I think that they have every right to do what they're doing because that is their property and it was taken from them. And, the way that this is being put out in the mainstream media is that they're damaging other property or that they're somehow seizing other property and really it's their property. So they have every right to do what they're doing. And I think it's insane what these corporations have been doing in these countries, for probably centuries, I'd say.
Yeah, much, much longer. So the statement was released on Friday, January 31st, and it reads, "This is the first step. We are going to defend our territory, our river, our forest, our riches, and our people until the end. This is our word." Do you think this hints at, not only indigenous resistance, but I would hope that that there is a growing movement of indigenous resistance? And I will say that within the sort of spiritual community, every time I've been to a Native American or, whether it's with the I Don't Know More grandmothers and, it's coming from several different tribes or different representatives who meet together at these sort of conferences trying to find common ground, which is what we all need to be doing. There's this talk of prophecy, of awakenings and like the Hopi prophecy and things like that, but there's also just a realistic awareness that people are waking up and they're looking for what some people call the children of the rainbow, or just basically the people that come back and recognize life in all sizes, shapes, and forms, and then come together and change things. So this in a lot of ways is a fulfilling prophecy of what many indigenous groups think is going to happen, which is that eventually the people will fight back against this and reclaim the earth.
Yeah, and I've been watching those prophecies as well for a couple of years since I discovered them, and I think that there's a lot of truth to it, or at least I hope that there's a lot of truth to it. And looking at things from kind of our perspective and the work that we do and seeing this kind of happen every day, it does seem like it is going in that direction.
Yeah, yep, it definitely is, man. Well, I think we've got just about another minute or so with you, so please let everybody know where they can find your work and what they can do to get involved with you, because you do a lot of good things. And I've been mentioning our book, man. It's 2014. It's time for us to get on our book. We've been slipping, but I know I've got tons of essay ideas that I'm working on, so I hope we can come together on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now that we have kind of a plan and a schedule with the conscious resistance, we could use this as a little bit of a motivation to get them essays done and maybe even release some of them to the public prior before we give them a full edit for the book. But yeah, you're definitely right. We need to get on that.
Yeah, man.
And
I'm looking forward to
go
it,
ahead.
brother. I'll say I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to it. We've got a lot. We've talked about, for those who don't know, we've been working together for about 2 years now, or well, I guess just over a year and a half, and writing essays separately. But we're gonna put them all together and compile them in a book. And we're definitely looking for help and influence. So if you've seen other ways that anarchy connects to spiritual teachings, please bring them to our attention.
Yeah, no, it's a very exciting project, and I'm looking forward to getting deeper into it. And if people are looking for some more information about me, I am very active on Facebook, unfortunately, until there's another social network. And you can find me at facebook.com/JGVibes. I have some free books out at aotmr.com. And every day I post an article or two for intellihub.com.
Awesome, man. Well, I'll talk to you soon, brother. Take it easy.
All right, later.
That was Jon Good Vibes, JG Vibes, Jon Vibes. He's a team of the Conscious Resistance here. He's not only does he write articles as he does for IntelliHub and other publications, but he does the Culture Shock segment, which we're not playing this week. So instead of that, I figured we'd have him on the show and talk a little bit about about what we just did. So indigenous resistance happening all over the place. What's your excuse? Why aren't you rising up? Why aren't you taking miners' equipment? Why aren't you rebelling peacefully? Why aren't you declaring that you're going to save your forest, you're going to save your land, your riches, and you'll do anything to take it back? Because it's time for that. It's time for us to rise up. It's time for us to resist. We got one more music video coming at you. Be sure to vote for your favorite video at theconsciousresistance.com on the Music Spotlight page. This is the new video of the week. So we play 4 videos every week. You can vote for your favorite. Whoever gets the least vote, we rotate them out and we put a new artist. This is our new artist, Rag and Bone Man. Check it out. Be right back. .com on the music.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been a ruin for many a poor boy. And God, I know I won. My mother was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is his suitcase and his trunk. And the only time that he's satisfied is when he's all drunk.
I pour another shot of sorrow in a dirty chip tumbler as demons dance in the smoke blown from tired lungs. Daddy was a drinker, I learned from the best, so it's really no surprise to see what I've become. Young dreams fade to black, but I thought you believed in me. I guess I should have took the time to tell you what you mean to me. I never thought that we would fall apart so easily, as a double rum sucks the color out the scenery.
Oh, mother, tell your children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Now I got one foot on the platform and the other on the train. And I'm going back to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain.
Yeah. Love is the devil in a short skirt, with lips like fire in a razor sharp tongue. The only one who ever made it make sense. Now my breath stink of liquor and it's made my heart numb. The house of the rising sun. My head's getting weary and my time is done. I know I've done wrong sometimes, but just remember me for the songs I've sung.
There's a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun. And it's been a ruin for many a poor boy. And God, I know I'm one.
Welcome back to the Conscious Resistance Live. My name is Derrick Bros. Thank you guys for tuning in. That was the new artist we're playing, Rag and Bone Man. That was pretty cool. Somebody sent that to me. Thank you, Damon Shaw. He sends me lots of cool music. And as I said before the break, you can vote for your favorite artist that we play tonight. We play 4 independent artists every Sunday because we're trying to promote not only independent thinking, independent media, but independent music, because as I'm sure you guys know, there will be no revolution without music and dancing, at least not any that I'm going to be a part of. So we got to get the music going. And if you are an artist, you got videos, you want to get them played, we want to share as we all grow, as we're growing the network, our writers, we want to pay them, we want to promote music. So it's a good thing for us all to grow. Now we've got our guest coming on. I guess he's ready. We're going to have Jon Kopel in just a second, and I've been in touch with him through email. I've not met this gentleman yet, but I'm excited to talk to him through Skype. And I'll tell you a little bit about him briefly so he can really tell you who he is. But Zach's going to go ahead and get that ready. Make sure, did you hang that one up? All right, well, it might be hung up. Just go back. But Zach's going to get that ready for us. And so Jon has been, in his words, a resistance fighter since the days of Vietnam, protesting back in the day. And you might have to Control-Delete that. And he's also, this is what I really want to talk to him about, he's currently teaches meditation in prison. He's been doing this for 5 years, and I'm extremely excited to talk to him about that because some of you know my story, and I'll talk more about this with Jon. We'll wait to get him on the line. But basically, that's where I discovered meditation, was when I got locked up in 2005, and I ended up spending 18 months of my life, my precious life, behind bars and learning a lot about myself, not because of where I was at, but because I chose to go inwardly and to, find peace in some of the most ego-filled places that there can be. Behind bars, people generally tend to stick to what they know, which is either their race or some religion and whatever makes them feel good, to get out and possibly come back. And it took me a couple of times. I went back and forth over a couple of years, but I do know that that was the beginning of me discovering meditation and getting into deeper spiritual practices. So I think these programs are amazing, and we talked about this on Lessons in Consciousness with Bruce King. Check that out Wednesday nights. There's been studies where meditation groups come into areas and crime has actually gone down in those areas. So there are measurable effects of meditation, and it helps in prison. So let's see if we can get Jon on the line. I need water. Hello, Jon, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm doing well. Do you got any video with you, or is that going to be it?
Can you see it?
We cannot see you, but we would like to see you. Ours is on. Click that.
I'm new at this. I see myself. I tested this.
If you look below your image, there might be a little camera icon, and it may have a slash through it. Make sure that that's clicked on. But if we can't get video, that's no problem. I'm just looking forward to talking with you.
I am too. I'm disappointed because I tested this out with my niece, and we did it just fine. So let's see.
It's no big deal if you want to go ahead and
wait, hold on.
Well, we had something there for a second. We almost saw you.
Shoot.
Well, let's go ahead while you work on that. Let's go ahead and hear a little bit about you. I want to introduce you. I want you to introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. I first of all, I love your website. I love your theme of the conscious resistor, which is exactly what I am. I've had a guru and been on the spiritual path for almost 40 years. I've lived in India. I've traveled with great saints. And I'm also, like you, in the resistance. And I was really, by the way, what I saw of you was fantastic. You were fearless and you were calm. And those are signs of a yogi. And I noticed on your website that you have a picture, and maybe it's someone that you know, of a yogi there who practices equanimity in adversity. And these are fantastic qualities that we need to have. And in this day and age, we really need it. It's like unbelievable what's happening in the world. So I've been, as I mentioned before, a few years ago, I started first I've been awake to the spiritual, but not to what's really going on in the world until a few years ago. And so I've become active in trying to stop the pollution, the poisoning of the environment, the food, the taking away of our rights, our constitutional rights. One of the reasons I wanted you to see me is because I have my Ron Paul banner from when I worked for trying to help Ron get elected. And so I'm active in that in any way. I mean, to me, it's unprecedented what's going on. But you also wanted to ask me, and I could go on and on, but if you want to ask me about the prison work that I do, or whatever you want to ask me, it's fine.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm really glad that you reached out to me. I'm always happy when people reach out to me and just try to communicate and work together, because that's what I fully believe is happening, and what we need to do. So I'm always willing to work with another spiritual soul and somebody who's bringing meditation. I don't know if you just heard me when I was introducing you, but I myself have spent a little bit time behind bars from 2005 till 2009. I was in and out of prison, ended up doing an 18-month sentence and a year on probation, and that's where I discovered meditation on my own. And I fully understand the power of meditation and think that prisons and places, institutions like that are necessary. They really need it. They need those type of programs to help people, because there's so much ego and so much insecurity, really, is what it is, and people just trying to figure out where they want to go and what they're going to do with their life, that I think meditation is the perfect tool to help them find their way.
What kind of meditation did you learn in prison?
Well, when I first got locked up, I had an interesting experience where I every Sunday in Houston in the Chronicle, or every Saturday, they have a religion section, and in the religion section they list various various quotes from all the different religions, and they had a quote from the Dhammapada, and basically I can't remember what it was that they shared, but whatever it was, it struck me immediately, and I contacted my grandmother and got her to send me whatever she could on Zen Buddhism and meditation itself. So that's where I started. I started out with Zazen and with just getting into understanding Zen of the mind. And of course, while I was in prison, my the books I had access to was pretty limited, but I did get quite a few. And once I got out, I pursued it further, and I've been from that point discovering connections to my political beliefs now, which are more anarchist, and just believing everybody's a free human and their own experience. And so it's all kind of tied together now after those beautiful experiences, getting locked up and discovering my own mind.
I'd love to share a little bit about that work that I do, and also what my guru would say, and about people in prison and in general. And he said that, and his name, and I don't know if I'll get this video up where you can see, I wanted to show you a picture, but he said, God dwells within you as you. And he also said, see God in each other. And his name, my first guru, was Swami Muktananda, which means literally the bliss of freedom. And what he said, referring to people who are incarcerated, is that freedom is a state of being, and it doesn't matter whether you're in prison or not in prison. It's your own being, and we're all connected to God, but we don't see that. We're not aware of that because of our limitations, our mental constructs, our negative emotions, and identification with the physical body, when in reality we are not different from God. And meditation is the process by which we see that. We uncover the veil. And there have been great beings who have been incarcerated. And I can't remember offhand, but even I believe Lord Krishna, from the Indian culture, from the Indian history, who is revered by countless people, I believe he was born in prison. Um, I could be wrong about that, but there are stories like that. Um, so, well, let me stop for a minute and see if I should go on. If you have any questions.
Oh no, actually, I think that's a really interesting fact. Yeah, I was unaware of that Krishna might have been built in or built born in prison, but it doesn't really surprise me honestly to find that the teachings could spring from from hardship. And as you said, that's where you really can reveal yourself through meditation. And in prison, for me, being locked up, it's basically you have no other escape anymore. If you all other times in your life there's somebody to call. You can call a mother, you can call a friend, you can call somebody to bail you out of the trouble you've gotten in. But when you find yourself in that situation where you have completely lack of control over your own life, and somebody is now taking that and deciding when you eat, where you go, when you go to sleep, all these type of things, it really, for me and for others I've seen, can cause you to reevaluate everything about your life and your place, and yes, deeper questions about God. I remember the second time, because I had basically had an experience of getting locked up for a year straight, and then I was out for about 5 months, and I went back for another 3 months. And in that second time I went back, I was really even more determined to figure out what I had, why I couldn't figure it out, why I was just still screwing up. And I read a lot of different books, and one of them that I read that was really influential to me in a lot of ways was called Conversations with God. And it's a really powerful book that just, for me, helped me understand my deeper meaning of what God, the universe, this one consciousness really means for my understanding, and how, what I was doing to myself was basically keeping me from being that God manifest, from being, the highest me that I could be, which is now what I guess I'm dedicating my path and my time to, is to rediscovering who that person is, and trying to present that to the world and to inspire others to find their highest good. And meditation is definitely an amazing tool for that. So you've been doing, how did you first get involved in the prison meditation? Can we hear more about that?
Sure. The program that I work with is called the Siddha Yoga Prison Project. It's spelled SIDDHA, Siddha Yoga Prison Project, and it's been going on for at least 35 years in all around the United States. And of course, you can Google that, and also from the Siddha Yoga website, SIDDHAYOGA, siddhayoga.org. I believe there is a link somewhere on that page to the Siddha Yoga Prison Project. And so there have been people, we go through it's for people who are on this spiritual path, who for a little while, who have, committed to it, that have the opportunity to go in as teachers. And, I did want to, something I thought of, I wanted to share with you about that, about the actual training of doing this. But we train, and then we go into prisons, and sometimes the arrangements are already set up. We can just go in. Sometimes we have to set them up ourselves. And, I have great experiences. And one of the things, I was actually born Jewish, but I never practiced that, and I never was into that. But when I got on the spiritual path and found my guru, I became more receptive and tolerant of other paths, and that includes becoming fond of Jesus. And in the training that we had in order to go into prison, there was someone who shared a quote, and I'm trying to actually bring it up, from what Jesus said about that. And it was really beautiful. And I'm just about to get it right now, because I'd rather, I'll come back to that, and I'll tell. So I go into, when I find that, so I go into prisons, and of course, it's a great thing for me as well as for them. And the understanding that we have, those of us who do this, is that we're not, of course, we're not, obviously not any better than anyone in prison, but also that it's an opportunity for us, just like it's opportunity for the person who comes to the program, for us to grow and to learn from that experience. So,
yeah, I just want to interject briefly right there, John. We have a comment from the chat room that I just wanted to comment on, and definitely everyone feel free to comment, or if you're in the live stream, and if you're listening through the Rundown Live, tune in app through your phone or on Freedom Phalanx Radio Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. But we have a comment here in the chat. Kronos said, "We are not God, but we do share godlike aspects," and I think I can agree with that. I don't have a problem with that statement.
I think that's fine. I'm not trying to create any controversy here, and each person has their own experience, their own understanding.
Exactly.
And that's fine. And at the same time, the more I have pursued my path, and particularly intensely, the more I have the experience that God is with me all the time. And I can't find the quote from where I saved it, unfortunately, but Jesus said something to the effect that, "Come and visit me in prison." And Jesus is everywhere in different forms, and in the Indian tradition, there are other great beings, great saints, who also take birth. Anyway, so I'm respectful and grateful and appreciative of these different great beings and great saints. And so Jesus said, "Come and visit me in prison." And when I heard that, it was beautiful. I felt this love. I felt that I was doing something good. And, it was great.
I wanna go ahead and just kind of touch on this for a second, because I've, in the past 2 years or so as an activist, the more I've decided that there was no way for me to any longer to separate my spiritual self from my activist political self, that everything I was doing on either side was influenced by the other one. And I've become more comfortable with saying things such as God, or talking about Christ, or talking about different teachings. I've also instantly seen a pushback from some people who are uncomfortable, as there is a pretty strong vein of anarchists who are atheists, what they would consider strictly rational in their viewpoint. And as you said earlier, I do believe that not only is there no one path towards liberty, but there's also no one path towards happiness in the spiritual or lack of spiritual sense. And so I just want to throw that out there for anyone who may be listening and have some type of gut reaction to hearing the word Christ or Jesus and be like, wow, what did I tune into? But that's really what the conscious resistance is about, and my viewpoint is basically allowing each individual to access their own understanding and interpretation of God or nature or whatever you want to call it. Even if you were an atheist and don't believe in anything, but you believe in the essence of life, you believe in maybe you have a scientific outlook, but there's some way for you to frame. And if you don't, then I encourage you, because I do believe that yes, there are many paths, but I think that pursuing spirituality while pursuing a path of freedom and understanding of that and spreading that awareness for others, that those two go hand in hand, like I don't know, like something that goes hand in hand together. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying. So yes, pursue spirituality, because I believe it's a good answer. And if you're not comfortable, if you're not there yet, then just listen, I guess. Some people, I feel like we're often so afraid of something outside of our perspective or what we've been accustomed to, so it's like, oh wow. But I try to, for example, when I'm talking to my mother or someone else who has more of a strictly Christian understanding of the world, but we understand that there's a struggle for power and there's a struggle for freedom, and the people are trying to awaken and things like that, we can talk about that. And when she gets into the specifics of her religion, I hear where she's at, and I understand that from her perspective, and then I can filter that and understand it in my own words without the need to be like, no mom, that's not right, don't you understand the contradictions of the Bible and this and that? Maybe Jesus was a mushroom. I don't know. There's a lot of different things out there. If you've never looked into that, look into that mushroom cult. But Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of answers out there, and I just want to throw that out there, John, because you mentioned that. No, and I've got another question I want to hit to you. I think we've got a few more minutes with you, and this is just kind of a broad question, but what does freedom mean to you?
That's a fantastic question. Um, Freedom means, for me, it doesn't just mean freedom from tyranny. And by the way, I wanted to mention something that Thomas Jefferson, the founding father, said, that resistance to tyrants is obedience to God, and that's a beautiful understanding. And I, like you, I struggle, and I contemplate this every day. And um, I just want to mention one other thing. There's a great scripture from India called the Bhagavad Gita, which literally means the song of God. And the story arises, and the teachings arise from someone named Arjuna, who is a follower of Lord Krishna, and he's supposed to go into battle with this world battle, epic battle, with many of his own family on the other side. And Krishna says to him, it's your duty to fight, because that's your role. And you're doing this for the good. And I'm not necessarily saying we have to go out and fight wars. I love Mahatma Gandhi. It's a big inspiration for me, nonviolent resistance. And I still have to answer your question about freedom. But my first guru's actual name, Muktananda, literally means the bliss of freedom. And there is a spiritual, it's not just a spiritual, it's a physical state of ecstasy, of bliss, living in this world, but being not of the world. That is our own experience. And by the way, about that one caller who asked about, not believing in God, I would say to that person, believe in your own goodness. And I think that's something that we all can understand. So freedom is actually, for me, it's a state of being where I have transcended my identification with my physical body, with my emotions, with who I think I am, and I am connected to divine source.
Connected to divine source. Wow, that's beautiful. So okay, can you explain to me and your understanding, John, how and from your viewpoint, hey everyone, the chat is alive. Everybody's loving this conversation, by the way. So thank you for being here and talking about this. But
By the way, I mentioned this before. You do an incredible job, and I love your website. I love what you do. It's so valuable.
I really appreciate that, and things like that make it a lot easier to continue when it gets difficult, as I'm sure you know. So, from one brother to another, I really appreciate that, and I just really want to get your viewpoint on how has your spiritual practice over the years helped you continue as an activist. I myself often bounce between extremes of overdoing work and thinking like, oh, that's it, I'm done, I can't be an activist anymore, I have to just go away, and then getting my spiritual practice back in line every day and things like that. And how do you keep from being burnt out as a spiritual person in this often dark battle?
Where do you come up with these incredible questions one after the other?
I don't know, somebody's speaking them to me.
It's an excellent question, and I can't wait to answer that question. For me, I do my spiritual practices every day, hours every day, and everyone has the practices that they love. For me, it's chanting. And there's two, and I would actually like, just for a few seconds, to let you listen to two different mantras. One that
do it.
The first one is my guru singing, and it's Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and she sings it slowly, and that means I bow to my inner self. the God within me. And in the same way that Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within, it's the same principle. So let me turn that on.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. We've got you for about a couple more minutes, John. So go ahead. I want to hear those for sure, and then I want to let you wrap up.
I'm sorry?
I said we've got you for a couple more minutes. I want to hear the mantras, and then I want you to go ahead and wrap it up for us tonight.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
It's playing right now. Just maybe 15 seconds. So, I really appreciate you having. Are you there?
We're still here, John.
I really appreciate you having me on, and what keeps me going is these chanting. I also chant these other mantras, which I also love, with the people called the Hare Krishnas as well, because I love music. I love singing to God in a melodic way, and it awakens in me this divine love, and it awakens this fearlessness in me, which allows me to work at resistance to tyranny.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, John, for coming on and talking to us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight has been Jon Kopel. He's a resistance fighter, been fighting for a long time, and more importantly, he is a spiritual being who is connecting to God every day, and one of the many, many beautiful people out there who are fighting to change this world. Thank you for joining us tonight, John.
Thank you, Derrick. And keep up the good work.
Will do. So go ahead and sign him off first. Don't do it yet. We're gonna go ahead and in a moment. You got him off Skype. Make sure we got him off before we switch. Cool. So that was John. Yeah, that was an awesome interview, man. Did you guys feel those vibes coming through there? Like, we've got something else, and there's not joints being smoked in here yet. There's something else going on, and I think it was that mantras. So one more music video coming up your way. Go ahead and do what we did. Yeah, there you go. And this time, this is Sun Salutation. They've been on the show for 4 weeks in a row now because they're one of the bands that keeps going out there and promoting and telling their people to vote for them. So again, 4 videos played tonight. You can vote for these at theconsciousresistance.com. You can send us music videos yourself and help decide what we play every week. So check this out. This is Sun Salutation. And then after that, you're going to hear from me what it means to give yourself permission to be free. This is the Conscious Resistance.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic function. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods of goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Now from on top of the world we saw everything. Oh, you got what you want, but you don't
But before it's all gone, you gotta let it run, let it run. Woo! When we give up what we want and we're taking what we need, and I can't push it all aside. Get lost in your dreams, don't wanna be the reason that it all fell apart. Broken hearted right there from the start when we moved. Just a little bit more. Could we complain? Hell yeah, but you know that it never did any good. And from a brighter side of a newborn planet, when it fell from what you thought was coming out of your hands, and when it's time to go, yeah, just know the other side is always where you go. When we look away, we get nothing done. And I know I'm not the only one. Look away and get nothing done. And we all know their war will never be won. Now gather around, children, it's story time. Do you really want to know who controls the minds of the world? The bankers, the Bilderberg group. The government needs scapegoats for crimes they do. And we watched as the bullets went through because they killed JFK and Martin Luther too. It's crazy today to watch the towers fall. Conspiracy in it all. When we give up what we want and we're taking what we need, and I can push it all aside and get lost in your dreams. I don't wanna be the reason that it all fell apart. Open your mind, there was your heart. When we look away, we get nothing done. And I know I'm not the only one. Look away and get nothing done. And we all know their war will never be won. I once knew a man and he stood for a cause. They chopped his legs off just to watch him fall. And with a little bit better view of the world, he realized that you could say everything and still say nothing at all. When we give up what we want and then we're taking what we need, and I can push it all aside and get lost in your dreams. I don't wanna be the reason that it all fell apart. It'll never be forgiven what we got it from the start. But when we give up what we want, taking what we need, I can push it all aside. Lost in your dreams, don't wanna be the reason that it all fell apart. Open your mind, there was your heart. When we look away, we get nothing done. And I know I'm not the only one. Look away and get nothing done. And I know I'm not the only one. When we look away, look away, look away. Watch the bottom fall out.
How many times have you thought of a new idea, a new project, something that excites you, only to later find it smashed to pieces by a negative voice, whether that's coming from peers, parents, others in the community, or often your own self? How many times have you decided you wanted to branch out and to go to a party or go to a part of town that you've never been in, to try to meet new people, or just venture outside of your comfort zone, only to find yourself limited once again by doubt, fear, insecurities, things like this. I wanted to talk a little bit about this today, about allowing yourself to be you, allowing yourself to be happy, and allowing yourself to be free. So what do I mean when I say allowing yourself? What am I really saying here? What I'm talking about is the idea that each of us wake up every day, we make conscious decisions, we decide what we want to eat, where we're going to go, who we're going to hang out, and we decide how we're going to spend our valued time. And it's just as easy as we make those decisions, we can make decisions about being happy and about choosing to be free. It's 2014 now, and the awakening has continued to grow around planet Earth. And this year there seems to be quite a bit of activists who I've talked to who see 2014 as a year of gain, that we're going to make huge strides this year, that projects are being put into place, coalitions are being formed, and things are becoming more cohesive. So as we're becoming more cohesive, we have to take time to recognize that we are the masters of our own domain. We are the deciders of our fate, and we control whether or not we are free. And I think more people have begun to realize these things, which is why we have this sense of cohesiveness, this sense of gain, because all of a sudden we're turning around and realizing, wait, these people, the Illuminati, the New World Order, ruling class, elite, the state, whatever you want to call them, that they are ultimately powerless, and that each of us as individuals have the power. So this idea came to me through, in Houston, running around with various spiritual circles, self-help circles, and the idea is basically, you have to give yourself permission to be happy, to be free. So some of you out there are saying, well, why do I need to give myself permission? You sound like a statist. I have to give myself permission in order to be free, to be happy. What exactly does that mean? What I mean is, often when we try to reach out to others and try to launch new projects, or we try to just be ourselves, we'll get this self-talk, this negative, limiting, doubting voice that will tell us, don't do that, don't bother, don't try, don't even take the first step towards a new adventure. So we find ourselves in what is called learned helplessness, where after a while, our brains, our minds, we become conditioned to this self-talk. And I'm going to give you an example from my own life. 10 years or so ago, I was very depressed. I tried to kill myself a couple of times, and I realized over the years that the reason I was feeling so down, the reason I was so depressed and was lost and easily manipulated by the state and not realizing my own power was because of that self-doubt. I've had this voice that stayed with me my entire life that would always pop up every time I started to feel happiness, or every time I wanted to go out and do new things, that would offer all kinds of reasons why I shouldn't pursue this path and remind me of how silly I was, how nobody was going to listen to anything I had to say, and I might as well not bother. There's no reason to go out there and try to do something new, and things like that. So after hearing this voice, and we all have a different voice, I imagine, but after hearing this self-talk, over and over, this became my reality. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions become your destiny. So if I'm starting off with negative, limiting thoughts and ideas, that becomes my reality. And then I speak from that point, I act from that point, and I behave from that point, and my destiny is headed towards that direction, or it was headed in that direction. So let me give you a more recent example. The other day I'm in the store, and I'm just walking through the grocery store, perusing the aisles, all up in my own head, and I started to giggle and laugh out loud for something that popped into my head, and there was another person down the aisle, and I caught myself. I felt really insecure. I was like, oh, shut up, and I told myself to shut up and just stop being so silly or something like that, but then instantly caught myself and said, well, why do I need to be quiet? Why should I not laugh? And I analyzed it. I sat there in the aisle of the grocery store and analyzed it for a second and thought, well, I guess I'm afraid of what this other person down the aisle is going to think, or I'm worried about how others will perceive me. But at that moment I realized, you know what? It doesn't matter. I have to give myself permission to be happy, to be myself. And so I did that. I said, you know what? I had this one-on-one conversation with myself and said, no, I'm happy and I'm going to express that. I give myself permission to be happy, to be myself. And if you understand that happiness and freedom are completely connected, that whether you have a certain level of freedom or not, if you're not happy inside, if you're not free in the mental sense, then you truly are wearing chains and you truly are caged. So recognizing this, the first step towards truly being free then is to give yourself that permission. Try it out next time you have a doubtful, negative, limiting thought. And these things creep in from time to time. As I said, we learn to accept them. We learn that voice that pops in and says, oh no, don't go do that, just stay home, or it discourages you from trying new things, because our minds and our bodies, we get used to routine, and it's very often difficult to break us from those routines. And it takes a conscious, empowered effort to do that. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, that take time every day to remind yourself and to give yourself permission to be free, to be you, and to be happy, because guess what? You are free. If you want to follow me and my work, you can find me on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel below and look for more videos. As always, if you can hear this, you are the resistance. Welcome back to the Conscious Resistance Live. Thank you guys for tuning in. There's been a lot of awesome chatter in the chat room, and thank you everyone who is participating. I appreciate that. I did that video yesterday. The Conscious Thought of the Day is sort of an unofficial series that I try to do as often as I can. I'm trying to get on a regular schedule of doing those every Wednesday, and yeah, that was something that just popped in my head, as if you just heard. It just came to me when I was at a store and I started thinking negatively at myself, and I try to be very self-aware and catch myself in those things, because as many of you know, and as we've been kind of focusing on today's show, your mind is is the last domain of the battle for freedom, and ultimately you decide if you're free in your mind, whether you're physically behind bars or other cages. So one of the last stories I want to touch on tonight before we end the show up is one I wrote earlier in the week. If you don't know, I currently write Monday through Friday for the LibertyBeat.com. I write 3 short blurbs every Monday through Friday morning, and those are played on Austin FM radio about 6 times a day, so you can find those on the website. And I also am a regular contributor to activistpost.com and theantimedia.org. This most recent article was for Activist Post, and it covers something that I had actually never heard of until I decided to write about it. What a better way to learn about something than to write about it, right? Back in the day, I used to hate doing research projects. Now I can't wait. It's interesting. So this past Wednesday, the American Civil Liberties Union filed a Freedom of Information Act request with the Federal Bureau of Investigations in an effort to find out details on a little-known tool that the Bureau uses to assist the National Security Agency, our domestic spying agency, with gathering data about Americans. So this tool is called port readers. The port readers are capable of copying emails and instant messages in real time. The tool is supposed to delete the contents of emails and leave only the, quote, metadata, which is who it's coming from, real simple information, but it's not supposed to indicate exactly who you are or where you're at. The FBI is currently working to install port readers on networks of large telecommunication companies. This means everybody who provides you a cell phone or internet service. And the ACLU's request, they asked for more information on the port readers. So basically, up to this point, there's been a couple of articles. August 2013, CNET, they reported on it first, that a former government official stated that within the FBI, there was software. The software is basically known as a harvesting program. So despite them being closed-lipped on it and not telling us anything, another industry insider also told CNET that the readers were, quote, an interception device by definition. AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, Comcast, and Sprint have so far declined to comment on the topic, and we don't really know much about it, which is why the ACLU is issuing the lawsuit. Specifically, the Civil Liberties Group is concerned and seeking information on what metadata is being collected, how many internet and phone service providers have installed these port readers, how much information is being collected, and whether or not the FBI can actually guarantee that the information is not permanently stored by the government. And I just gotta ask how silly or stupid people might be, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, if they really believe any of that in 2014 after everything that Edward Snowden has revealed, that you think, okay, they say this program, port readers, oh, it's okay, we set it so that all the stuff that we're not supposed to get unless we have court approval, that stuff just gets deleted automatically. We don't keep that anyway. Sure. Foreign Policy also reported on the readers, stating that the FBI collects 13 separate fields of metadata. The exact fields and types of information are publicly unknown, but what we do know is that the data can include everything from the route a message has taken over a network, the IP addresses and port numbers. Stuff like that, IP address, it's easy to find out who somebody is from there. Stuff like that, IP address, it's easy to find out who somebody is from there. Stuff like that, IP address, it's easy to find out.
That popped up out of somewhere.
So, Hani, the audio over there. The Hani Fakrai of the Electronic Frontier Foundation said, quote, "The biggest fear is that the boxes are secretly storing everything, or that they're doing more than simply just allowing traffic to sift through and pulling out the routing information." Again, do you really believe that? So how do these port readers and the data collection happen without even the FISA courts knowing about it? No, just a little bit of background information for those who may be unaware. FISA courts, Foreign Intelligence Secret courts, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act courts. Basically, FISA courts are secret courts that we're supposed to, the public, you and I are just supposed to trust that in these secret proceedings the government is following all its, all the laws, and these warrants when they issue them through secret courts, and this is for specifically for spying technology. And for things like that, to get into your, to get into your emails, the results will be, quote, relevant to an investigation. And if you know anything about the way the government's documents work, they like to have real broad terms like relevant or terrorist and things like that, which can be easily misconstrued and defined however, the situation needs. Judges have stated themselves that in the past that they have almost no ability to deny pen register and trap and trace requests, and in fact they act as a rubber stamp to whatever is being requested. So basically, even in the private courts, the judges are saying this is sort of in a legal gray area where we have no control, and even though it may be unconstitutional, we can't stop it. We just basically say, okay, our court has approved this. So how does this happen? Well, the metadata that they're requesting includes your IP address, your Facebook correspondence, website history, and much more. But with pen register, with the pen register orders, not all the metadata is totally legal. So what they do is basically they get the FBI. Because you have to think about this. All the programs we found about from Edward Snowden are National Security Agency, which is supposed to deal with international communications. Obviously, they're tracking tons of Americans, as we know, where they're going beyond what they're mandated to do, because they say, oh, these Americans may be talking with international terrorists. But another way that the NSA is able to get around these laws is they basically have the FBI do their dirty work for them, and the FBI looks up all this information. And the way the FBI does this is through an organization that is located at the Marine base in Quantico, Virginia, where the FBI holds its Operational Technological Division. And this group, which is not much is known about it. I really did a lot of research, and there's only a couple references to it and what they really do. But they're called D2, the Data Intercept Technology Unit, and they handle the interception of data using the port readers. So this is basically, your hit the Windows button. This is basically your smartest, most, keen observers and tech nerds, basically, who've been hired by the government to go in there and to learn how to spy on you. And a lot of them often they're hackers and they get hired on by the government. So another interesting note about this is that the FBI and the D2, and assist the NSA with spying on Americans. This is, like I said, the NSA is especially supposed to focus on international threats, but this allows them to circumvent that. And all of this seems to be operating under the guise of either barely legal or it's outright, flaunting the law, both the public law and the leaked secret proceedings that happen in the private courts. So again, what happens when you put criminals in charge of themselves? They're going to do whatever the hell they want. And I end this article with this. We live in an age where governments and private entities are becoming more and more engaged in monitoring and cataloging all aspects of daily life. Recent revelations have made it glaringly obvious to anyone who's paying attention that very little of our lives are private anymore. Free people should not be forced to sacrifice privacy in order to participate in modern life. Stay vigilant, continue to spread awareness of the growing surveillance state, which is why this Tuesday, February 11th, there is national action taking place all around the country against mass surveillance. As we said in the beginning of the show, this is 1 year and 1 month to the day of the death of activist Aaron Swartz, who founded Reddit and did a lot of work with hacking and just spreading awareness on the dangers of the government. So if you are against government surveillance, if you feel like you have privacy, if you are still one of the crazy free people who think that for some reason you actually deserve privacy and the government shouldn't be involved with every single aspect of your life, well then do yourself a favor, and on Tuesday, February 11th, at some point, whether you go outside with a protest sign or you post an article on Facebook, have a conversation with somebody, point up at the cameras and ask your family, ask your friends, does that bother you at all? It doesn't have to be about anything specific. You don't have to talk about Edward Snowden. You don't really have to know exactly what is taking place, but you should be aware that we are being monitored, that every single digital communication in America and likely around any industrialized, modern country, every single digital communication, cell phone call, text message, Skype call, instant message, anything, and according to Edward Snowden, anything that is plugged into the internet, plugged into something, even if you're not plugged into the system, we now know they can remotely turn on your cameras. They can remotely turn on the microphones on your phone. It is 1984. The reality is right there. I mean, it's waiting for us to accept the obvious, because the sooner we accept the obvious, the sooner we can decide to make change. And that's my whole point, is that this is not about spreading fear. It's about spreading awareness. We can get bogged down in how heavy this situation is, knowing that right now, all this information that's being broadcast to you through the internet, through Skype, through the same programs we just listed, is being cataloged somewhere and saved. And, hopefully they enjoy the show, and maybe we reach them. Because I will never give up on reaching the police, reaching the authorities. There may be definitely some corrupted individuals out there who have lost their way and who use violence and use force and think that this is the way things should be. But as I started the show out with, they are doing what I believe they're destined to do, just as I believe I'm destined to do. We each play a role in this awakening, this evolution of our species. And the sooner we accept the current circumstances, the sooner we can change them and make them better. Whew! It's freaking hot. So I think we're just about done for the night, man. I really appreciate everyone who tuned in. It's been a fun show. I will get to this tonight or tomorrow, depending on what I get into, but I'm going to edit all this video up. We'll have the full episode up on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/consciousresistance. You can follow us on Twitter at the Conscious RN. We're on the Conscious Resistance at Facebook. And if you want to find the audio from all my episodes, soundcloud.com/TCR live. And as I mentioned, you can find my articles all over the place. And, I really appreciate the support. For those who are tuning into my show, please also check out our Wednesday night show, Lessons in Consciousness with Bruce King, and look forward to our upcoming cooking shows, yoga, music. We're really trying to build you a platform that can show you that news, awareness can be positive, can be fun. We can expose ourselves to music and to new ideas, and we can find common ground, because that is what the Conscious Resistance is all about, and I really appreciate you joining me. So I'll be back next Sunday, possibly talking to Paul Craig Roberts about the situation in Ukraine. Should be a good show. Thank you guys for tuning in, and as always, if you can hear this, you are the resistance. Peace.
That's why we on the front lines and we deep up in the trenches. When they speak into the places, we don't believe a single sentence. We don't need them for protection. We